Hello everyone, Fen here, and today we're going to be starting our Let's Play of Legend of Grimrock 2. So before we start, we're going to go ahead and look through some of the options we have here. So as you see, this game is fairly well optimized like the first one. You know, to play with everything on high, and there seems to be about 3 settings for everything for those who... Well, here rendering quality it's only low and high. So wait for vertical sync. I'm going to actually play with that enabled. I'm going to go ahead and switch to full screen here, and as you can see there seem to be a few resolution options, but 920 by 1080 seems to be the highest resolution. So if you enable arrow icons, there are some icons over here. You can basically click to move forward, back, rotate left, rotate right, strafe left, or strafe right. That's all that is. It's mostly for people who just don't want to use the keyboard or who want to just click everything. If you have a touchscreen, it might be nice. Inverted horizontal and vertical. Basically, if you have inverted horizontal, whenever you go into mouse look, so you hold right click and you move the mouse left, this screen will turn right, as if you're pushing on a ball or something. So it's better for tablet users. Mouse users understand the axiom of when you... well, most mouse users. Some people like to play with these inverted. Nothing against those people. But basically, the traditional mouse way is you move your mouse up, your view moves up, down, left and right. This would make it moves left, right, down, and up. So that's what those do. One-click spellcasting is something we will actually be using. So what this does is it makes it so that when you click a spell, when you click to cast a spell, when you unclick, it will cast the spell. That's all what that is. Touchscreen mode. Basically this makes it so that whenever you left click, you will swing with weapons. And, you know, so forth. Use potions. Now, usually, you right click to use items or swing weapons. Just as a general thing. So, that's all what that is. This might take a second, but I'll go ahead and skip to when it is in full screen mode. Alright, it seems like I reset the music, that's okay. We'll go ahead and start a new game here. Okay, so, now since I've played through this game a little bit before, I'm going to go ahead and play it on hard mode this time. Now, the main thing about this game is that I did try to play through it once, and I essentially had to go do other things. Finals were coming up, and I had to go basically do work. So, unfortunately, I didn't complete the game. Well, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Now, I'll be making my own characters, because, you know, I just like making my own characters. But I want to talk about the predetermined party for a second. In these games, the designers, I think Beyond Human or Almost Human, their predetermined party should be able to win the game with the most ease. You can technically win the game with any party composition, in theory. Especially in Grimrock 2, where you have a great deal of options on what to do. If you wanted to, you could play nothing but fighters or knights, and just have them cast that protection spell to give themselves extra armor so that they are just insanely hard to kill. You could do that. And just steamroll through the game. It's built to allow you to do that. Now, this predetermined party has a human warrior, a Minotaur barbarian, I believe an alchemist or a rogue, and a wizard. I'm not entirely certain. But I'll be making my own party, simply because I like to. Old school mode. So old school mode turns off auto mapping. This is actually something that was very common back in the golden age, I suppose, of this type of game. There was no map. So if you wanted to map out things, you needed to actually get graph paper and do it yourself. I'm quite happy that there are mapping tools within the game, such as the map being mapped out. You can mark it if you wish. But I'm happy about that, because it means that life is just so much simpler. The other thing about this is that it does make the game quite a bit harder if you just go on memory. Because it means you will be lost probably every single time you go back into an old area. So, it's just that. It does make the game a bit harder. Iron Man mode basically makes it so that healing crystals can only be used once. Now, to counteract Iron Man mode, there are consumable items in the game that will basically resurrect everybody who's dead. I believe they're the red crystals that you can pick up. Small red crystals. They might be the small green ones, and essentially they are a full party res or a full party heal. Now, with Iron Man mode, you can only use the big crystals once. They never recharge. Now this can make the game a hell of a lot harder, but not impossible. This one, single-use crystals, makes the game quite a bit harder, but not impossible, because you're able to quick save still. Oh, I should mention this. With Iron Man mode, you cannot quick save. You can only save at healing crystals. I'll be getting to why that's important in a second. So single-use crystals, this makes the game harder for mainly the reason of you can't really revive party members as easily. You have to strategically use your heals. This tends to mean that you have to really just work at using what you have. If somebody dies in single-use crystal mode, you're in trouble right off the bat, because they're already going to be down experience. So, it's just one of those things. If this forces you to plow ahead even if you've lost people, sort of like traditional D&D. Of course, if you want, you could just play with multi-use crystals on, so this off, and fight your way to the next crystal and save yourself a lot of heartache. Now, if you want to play this game on what I'm calling impossibility mode, you turn on all three of these and put it on hard and see how far you get. Probably gonna be rather difficult unless you memorize the entire thing or already have everything graphed out in front of you. If you're gonna do that though, don't have the maps out in front of you. Do everything by memory and torture yourself, if that's what you're going for. But with Iron Man mode here, with Iron Man mode and single-use crystals, this game becomes a lot harder, and I mean a lot beyond either of these two used by themselves. Single-use crystals is fine. You can quick save, and if somebody dies, you can reload your quick save. Iron Man mode is fine. If someone dies, you just run back to a crystal, wait for it to reactivate, and then revive your party member and move forward. Both of these makes the game practically impossible, I would say. If somebody dies, they're just dead. But on top of that, you can't save until you find a crystal you haven't used yet. The thing about that is, some of the dungeons in this game are actually pretty large, and they loop back on themselves, have multiple levels, but only really have one save crystal. So, as you can imagine, that can be rather difficult. We are going to be playing with neither of these on, nor this one, but neither of these challenge modes. We are going to be playing instead with just on hard difficulty. In the future, I might go back and try single-use crystals and Iron Man mode just to see how far I get, or start a Until I Die Let's Play or something like that, but that's not going to be today. Today we're going to be playing with just on hard mode, making your own characters, and none of this difficulty increasing stuff. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is sort of introduce everything we can. So we have our names. I actually also realized how you were supposed to play as Turam in Legend of Grimrock 1. I've already uninstalled it, but I'll show you here. Basically, you start the game with one person, and you just type in Turam. He has to be a human, I believe. You don't change anything else. You just hit Start Game. And here it's going to tell you, that's not a good idea. But in Turam, in Legend of Grimrock 1, this lets you start the game as Turam, who is essentially a fighter mage. Essentially a battle mage who used knives, and could cast fire and lightning spells. So he was actually a pretty good character. So let's go ahead and go through what we'll do is we'll go through the races, the classes, the statistics. I'm including these in statistics as well, and all of this. Basically everything we can read. Then I'm going to go through traits and skills. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it. Human. As a human, you belong to the most popular sentient race in the known world. You are very adaptable and can excel in all professions. You gain experience 10% faster. Insectoid. As an insectoid, your thoughts are completely alien to other races. Your knowledge of the arcane is unrivaled. Insectoids come in many shapes and sizes, but most often their bodies are covered in a thick shell. Strength +1, dexterity -2, vitality -1, willpower +2. Your chance of getting body parts injured is reduced by 50%. Lizard Man. As a lizard man, you are a social outcast, and are mistrusted by other races because of your capricious and deceitful nature. What you lack in social skills, you greatly make up for in stealth and dexterity. Dexterity +2, willpower -2, resist all +25. Minotaur. As a Minotaur, you are bulky, simple, and quick to anger. Your incredible stubbornness is tolerated by others only because of your incredible prowess in combat. Strength +5, dexterity -4, vitality +4, willpower -3. Your food consumption rate is increased by 25% higher than normal. Ratling. As a Ratling, you may seem weak and disease-ridden on the surface, but you're actually one of the most adaptable and hardy creatures in the world. You are a hoarder by nature and greatly enjoy fiddling with mechanical contraptions. Strength -4, dexterity +2, evasion +2, maximum load +15 kilograms. You are immune to diseases. Okay, so that's our races. Now I actually know what we're going to build here. So this is going to be our human wizard. This is going to be our rogue, I believe. No, this is going to be our alchemist. And he's going to be a Minotaur. This is going to be our Ratling rogue. And this will be our insectoid knight. Alright, so let's go and go through the classes. Alchemist. As an alchemist, you brew potions and defend yourself in combat by wielding firearms. Health 50, +6 per level. Energy 50, +4 per level. Herbs in your inventory are herbs. Multiply. The growth rate is determined by the number of steps taken. Firearms have a 50% less chance of malfunction. Chance to malfunction. Barbarian. As a barbarian, you do not care about finesse in combat. Instead, you rely on raw power and speed. Health 80, +10 per level. Energy 30, +3 per level. Strength +1 per level. Battle Mage. As a battle mage, you are comfortable with fighting on the front row as well as blasting with spells from the back row. Health 50, plus 5 per level. Energy 50, plus 5 per level. Weight equipped is reduced by 50%. Weight of equipped armor is reduced by 50%. You can cast spells with your bare hands, and you gain protection plus 10 and resist all plus 10 when equipped with a magical staff or orb. Farmer. As a farmer, you do not command great powers, and do not know how to wield a sword. Instead, you are familiar with digging ditches for irrigation, and the growth cycles of pit root plants. Basically, everything a successful adventurer would never need. Health 30, plus 5 per level. Energy 30, plus 5 per level. You receive no skill points at first level. Instead of slaying monsters, you gain experience points by eating food. Fighter. As a fighter, you are a master of close combat. You are trained to use a wide variety of weapons. Health 60, plus 7 per level. Energy 30, plus 3 per level. Special attacks with melee weapons take half the time to build up and cost 30% less energy. Knight. As a knight, you believe that good preparation is the key to triumphant battle. You are specialized in wielding armor and using the shield. Health 60, plus 7 per level. Energy 30, plus 3 per level. Protection plus 1 per level. Weight of equipped armor is reduced by 50%. Evasion bonus of equipped shields is increased by 50%. Rogue. As a rogue, you are a stealthy warrior who prefers to use ranged weapons or light melee weapons. Health 45, plus 5 per level. Energy 40, plus 5 per level. When dual wielding, you only suffer a 25% penalty to weapon damage, which is normally 40%. And you also gain a plus 1 chance per level to score a critical hit with missile or throwing weapons, or missile weapons. Wizard. As a wizard, you use enchanted staves and orbs to command great mystical powers that can be used to harm or protect others. Health 35 per level. Energy 50 per level. 50. Plus 3 plus 7 per level. Willpower plus 2. You can cast spells with your bare hands. Okay, so we already have our party selected here. Now how you change the portraits in this game is instead of clicking somewhere down here, you just click on the portrait itself. So we'll do that. See, the ones I sort of like are this one, like this purple character there, and then over here for our human, I'm thinking a fox. So let's go ahead and get to traits, shall we? Everybody can see everybody's traits at the very beginning, so if we can just read through this once. Aggressive. You are full of rage, plus 4 damage. Aura. You have a potent aura. Energy, plus 20. Cold-blooded. You are naturally resistant to cold, plus 25% cold resistance. Endurance. Maximum carrying capacity is increased by 25 kilograms, and food consumption rate is decreased by 25%. Evasive. You know how best to stay away from harm. Evasion, plus 5. Fast metabolism. Lizard man only. Your health and energy regenerates 30% faster, while your food consumption rate increases by 20%. Additionally, healing potions are twice as effective on you. Healthy. You are exceptionally healthy. Vitality, plus 2, plus 2. Muscular. Your body is muscular. Strength, plus 2. Natural armor. Your skin is very thick and armor-like. Protection, plus 5. Poison resistant. You are naturally resistant to poison. poisons. Resist poison, plus 25. Minotaur. Rage from Minotaurs only. Your strength temporarily increases by 10 when you have less than 20% health remaining. Strong mind. Your mind is sharp as a needle. Willpower, plus 2. Agile. Your reflexes are exceptional. Plus dexterity, plus 2. Chitin armor or chitin armor, depending on where you're from. Insectoid only. Your body is covered in thick chitin in a thick chitin scale. You gain protection, plus 10. Daemon ancestor. Your great-grandfather had fiery eyes. Resist fire, plus 25. Endure elements. Lizard man only. Years spent living in the wilderness have made you resilient, resistant to the forces of nature. Resist all, plus 25. Fast learner. Humans only. You gain experience points 10% faster. This bonus is in addition to the experience bonus granted by your race. Headhunter. Minotaur only. Strength plus 1 for each skull carried. Martial training. You are trained to use a wide variety of melee weapons. Melee attacks gain accuracy plus 7. Mutation. Ratling only. One of your attribute scores, chosen randomly, increases by 1 when you gain a new level. Poison immunity. Lizard man only. You are immune to poison. Quick. Insectoid only. The cooldown period of all actions you perform is decreased by 10%. Skilled. Human only. You gain 1 extra skill point at first level, but it may only be used to raise a skill from 0 to level 1. Tough. You are resistant to physical punishment. Health, plus 20. Okay, so basically have our... So basically read through those. Let's look at these, if we will. These attributes. I sort of did them in a different order. So strength. Strength increases your carrying capacity. Fire resistance and damage you deal with most melee and throwing weapons. Dexterity affects your accuracy, evasion, shock resistance, and damage you deal with many missile weapons. Vitality affects the amount of health points you have and your health regeneration rate. Vitality also increases your poison resistance. Willpower. Willpower affects the amount of energy points you have and your energy regeneration rate. Willpower also increases your cold resistance. Fire resistance, shock resistance. So these are all more or less saying the same thing, but basically fire resistance. Fire resistance reduces the damage you take from fire, steam, and heat-based attacks. Shock resistance. Shock resistance reduces the damage you take from lightning and electrical attacks. Resist poison. Resist poison reduces the damage you take from poisonous attacks. Resist cold. Resist cold reduces the damage you take from icy and cold attacks. Protection. Protection is the combined protection value of all equipped armor, clothes, and other defensive gear. Protection decreases the physical damage of attacks against you. Evasion. Evasion is your chance of evading physical attacks. The damage from an evaded attack is completely avoided. Evasion is determined by your dexterity and equipped items. Damage. The range of physical attacks, the range of physical damage you deal. Damage is based on your attributes, skills, and equipped weapons. Accuracy. The higher your accuracy, the better your chance of hitting a target. Accuracy is determined by your dexterity, skills, and equipped weapons. Critical. The percentage chance of scoring a critical hit with a weapon. And max load. Load affects the movement speed of the party. If one of the prisoners are burdened, yellow bar, movement speed is reduced. If one or more prisoners is overloaded, red bar, the party can't move. Alright, so let's go through these skills. Alchemy. A higher skill level in alchemy allows you to brew a wider range of potions. To craft potions, you also need herbs and a mortar and pestle, or pestle. At fourth skill level, you brew stronger healing and energy potions. At 5th skill level, when you craft bombs, you get 3 bombs instead of 1. Which basically means if you're going to be a bomb user, you kind of want to save all your ingredients until like level 4 and 5. You don't want to make any bombs until 5th level in alchemy if you're going to throw bombs. Athletics increases your health by 20 for each skill point. At 3rd skill level, your carrying capacity is increased by 15 kilograms. Concentration increases your energy by 20 for each skill point. At 3rd level, your energy regeneration rate is increased by 25% while resting. Light weapons increases damage of light weapons by 20% for each skill point. At 3rd level, you can dual wield light weapons as long as one of them is a dagger. At 5th skill level, you can dual wield any light weapons. When dual wielding, you suffer a 40% penalty to weapon damage, unless you're rogue, at which point's only 25. Heavy weapons increases damage of heavy weapons by 20% for each skill point. At 5th skill level, you can wield 2-handed weapons, one-handed. Missile weapons increases damage of missile weapons by 20% for each skill point. At 4th skill level, your missile attacks ignore 20 points of the enemy's armor. Throwing each increases damage of throwing weapons by 20% for each skill point. At 5th level, you can throw weapons from both hands with one action. Firearms increases range of firearm attacks by 1 square for each skill point. Also decreases the chances of firearms malfunctioning. At 5th skill level, you achieve firearm mastery and do not suffer from firearm malfunctions anymore. Accuracy increases your accuracy by 10 for each skill point. At 2nd skill level, you can perform melee attacks from the back row. Critical improves your chance of scoring a critical hit with melee weapons, ranged weapons, throwing weapons, and firearm attacks by 3% for each skill point. At 3rd level, you can backstab an enemy with a dagger for triple damage. At 5th level, you can backstab with any light weapon. Armor increases protection for armor pieces. Increases protection of armor pieces equipped by 5% for each skill point. At 2nd skill level, you are proficient with light armor and can wear it without penalties. Similarly, at 4th skill level, you can wear heavy armor without penalties. Dodge increases evasion by 3 for each skill point. At 3rd skill level, the cooldown period of all of your actions is decreased by 10%. Fire magic increases damage of fire spells by 20% for each skill point. At 5th skill level, you regain resist fire 50. Air magic increases damage of air spells by 20% for each skill point. At 5th skill level, you gain shock resistance. You gain resist shock plus 50. Earth magic increases damage of earth spells by 20% for each skill point. At 5th skill level, you gain resist poison plus 50. Water magic increases damage of water spells by 20% for each skill point. At 5th skill level, you gain resist cold plus 50. Okay, so generally I like how they've done things with the skills here, because they have these little dots inside the skill ranks to designate when you get something special. I actually like that quite a bit more than... I like the 5 base system as opposed to the 50 to max something out, like they had in Grimrock 1. But let's go ahead and look at how these attributes affect these over here. It tends to be not necessarily tends to be pretty interesting. So I think the Ratling is the most interesting. So he has -4 strength. However, every point in strength increases max load by 3 kilograms. It's probably different as you are when he's at lower strength, so let's go ahead and see. It should be 51. It is? 54, 57, 60. Okay. So basically he's taking a -4 penalty to strength, but in terms of load, he's getting +5 strength. So I always found that rather interesting. Now how we're going to build this party is, our leader here is going to be mostly just strength and vitality. I'm not going to worry about his dexterity or his willpower, because he's going to be built to just take lots of damage. But as we can see, his strength is increasing his fire resistance. It's increasing his max load, but it's also increasing his damage by 1. That's because most weapons scale with strength, most melee weapons at least. Daggers scale with dexterity. So this guy will be using heavy weapons, our Ratling here will be using daggers, our Minotaur friend back here will be using thrown weapons, and Fen back here will be using ice magic. Okay, so let's go ahead and select these guys' traits and get them taken care of. So, I've actually done this video already, but I didn't capture any of the sound. This is why I'm kind of doing it again. Okay, so we chose Chitin Armor and Quick, because attacks with heavy weapons are extremely slow. They are painfully slow. You swing and then you wait basically forever, and then you can swing again. So we're going to go ahead and get that taken care of. Now, we chose heavy weapons and armor. The main reason for that is, he's going to be our armor tank. Our soak tank, as it's sometimes called. Our friend here, our Ratling Rogue, however, he's going to be evasive and agile. So we have agile and evasive. Now what this does is this maxes out his dexterity, and it increases his evasion as high as it can possibly go. Our emphasis here with this character is going to be finding anything that increases his dexterity and giving it to him. So most likely he will be wearing the Rogue set. This guy will probably be wearing the Resist All set, which is sort of gives you more health, and he's going to desperately need health because he'll be taking damage constantly. I don't know if we'll give him the Meteor set, because that just gives him fire resistance. It's more armor, but less health. Okay, so for our Ratling friend here, he's going to be sort of one of our ranged and melee characters. So this guy is all melee. He's not going to really have a ranged weapon. This character, however, is going to have 2 daggers and a bow. He's going to specialize into... he's going to try and buff up both at the same time. But he's only going to take daggers with light weapons up to rank 3. Then he's going to take missile weapons up to rank 4. So after that he's going to start building into other things, which we'll get to when we come to it. I actually know what he's going to build into, but it's going to be mostly dodge and critical. Maybe athletics for more health, but mostly dodge and critical. So let's see here, it would be 3, 7... we can't do 17. Okay, cooldown. I want him to be able to backstab, so that would be 10. And we might max out dodge to get him to 15. Now everybody has about 16 skill points, because you're going to beat the game reliably around level 16. So we might give him something like 1 point in concentration, or we might just increase his light weapons to level 4 just to make him do that much more damage with his daggers. Okay, our Minotaur here, he is our Alchemist. He's going to be our throwing weapon specialist. Now, you're sort of noticing a trend here. Everybody sort of has their vitality maxed out. And that's because you are going to undoubtedly take damage in this game. That is a reality that you're going to have to deal with. If you cannot soak that damage, you just die, essentially. Okay, so let's look at his traits. We're going to give him Headhunter, to give him as much strength as possible. And then we're going to give him... We're also going to give him Throwing, Muscular. Now we're going to go with Alchemy and Throwing. The reason we're going with Alchemy and Throwing is he's our throwing specialist, and there are plenty of throwing weapons in the game. So, he's going to have the Mortar and Pestle in his inventory. We'll open it there. I believe it can still be opened as a bag. And when we do that, we will brew potions from there. But mostly he's going to focus on throwing axes or whatever at the enemy to kill them as quickly as possible. Now we also have it to where he has the most load because he's going to be carrying a ton of throwing weapons, and throwing weapons are not light. Okay, then we have Fen Lynn here. His name is changed slightly. Fen Lynn. Now Fen Lynn, our little fox here, he is going to max out willpower and vitality. Again, just that trend. Everybody has max vitality. We're going to give him, as opposed to these guys where they sort of built into what they're supposed to be doing, so this guy is meant to soak damage and swing faster. He is very hard to hit and does slightly more damage. This guy will just do the most damage he can with thrown weapons, short of making him a barbarian. And Fen here, he's a human. Now, I could make him an insectoid, which would give him more willpower. Give him an extra 10 in energy, essentially. I could give him Aura, which would increase his energy, and then I could follow that up with Strong Mind to give him plus 30 energy right off the bat. Instead, what I'm going to do is go with Fast Learner and Skill. The reason for that is I want to get 1 point in Air Magic, Earth Magic, and Water Magic as fast as possible. Now the reason for this is, to do full Water Magic, you need at least 1 point in Earth Magic and 1 point in Air Magic. You really can't get away from that. Because the Frost Bolt requires Air Magic, and the Frost Shards that goes across the ground that the Goremorgs used, that was really hard to avoid, that used Earth Magic. Now the other reason I decided to go with Water Magic as opposed to Fire Magic, which does the most damage, is because Water Magic has a chance to freeze the enemy. And unlike hiding an enemy in, say, a force field or something, when you freeze an enemy, it's still open to attacks, which means my frontliners can just start wailing on this enemy. It can also sometimes be used to make enemies stand in a line, so I can use that, frost shards going across the ground to hit multiple enemies and do quite a bit of damage to a large group of enemies, as opposed to just one at a time. So circumstantially it's better, but it also sort of meshes with the party a bit more, because most of our party is based on damage and survivability. Plus, if enemies are being frozen, they can't swing to attack my two frontliners here, which helps us out quite a bit. Okay, so it looks like I've used all my skill points, used all of my attribute points, and more or less assigned everything. So let's talk names. Now luckily the first time I did character gen, I already created the characters. Now I have their names here. Our character up here is a fiery knight. His name is Brandr Gunther. Brandr Gunther is a knight of the highest order. He loves to fight, he sees it as profit, and he's a natural born leader. He wants to see everyone help him make a profit on this venture. He also knows that being proactive in surviving in our new environment is going to be the best possible way of actually surviving. Our friend here, our Ratling rogue, is named Govad Itzal. Now Govad, he sees this somewhat aristocratic knight, and he says, well, he said something about profit. I like that idea, and I also like getting off this damn island and surviving. And I know I need somebody to take the hits for me, while I sneak around back and stab them in their weak point for massive damage. Alright, so next up here, we have Roland Njord. Now, Roland, he cares about really two things in this world: plants and killing things with thrown weapons. What he also cares about is being able to stand his ground and wait for the enemy to slowly make their way towards him. Roland understands the importance of standing in one place and chucking things at enemies and killing them before they even get to you. But then he also understands the importance of being able to hit them with said weapons. Roland's all force. Roland is all brute force. Very little strategy. He cares little for defense, and only cares about making the enemies come to him and leading them in the way that most screws them over. Then we have Fen Lynn here, our little fox who vomits forth light, who formerly vomited, who has a cousin that vomits lightning at enemies, but he vomits ice at them. Alright, so Brandr Gunther, Govad Itzal, Roland Njord, and Fen Lynn, all together, have been imprisoned. Though I will say, it's not really that hard to capture a fox. You sort of just grab them by the base of their tail and lift them into the air. They can't really do anything. I've never actually done that to a fox. I imagine it would be quite painful. So, yeah. If you want to be mean to a fox or a dog, I guess you could do that. I don't really recommend it. They'll probably bite you. But let's go ahead and get this party started.